Hello, I am Spooky. And this is my home. Can you, humble player, make it through 1,000 rooms? Can you find what lies at the end? Or is there even an end? Because I don't really know. Anyway, just go.
Spooky's house of jump scares will leave adorable nuggets of cut-out panic in your pants. With simple graphics and easy-to-pick-up gameplay, audio design that will leave you with goosebumps, dreading what is waiting behind every door that simply gets it right for a free game. Spooky, amazing art, and some rather humorous notes to be read. I found something today to satisfy my unromantic thirst. I woke from a brief faint and found before me a bottle of red wine. I am not sure what brand or year, for there is no label. All I gather is that it tastes strongly metallic. Spooky's House is a rather simple game to pick up and enjoy with very basic controls. Move, look, and interact. No fancy combat, no need to craft anything, you just walk as your skin crawls from the suspense of what could be. Around every corner may be something happy to say hello. Oh, don't pop out at me! I was ready for that one, sort of. The core of the gameplay is walking through 1,000 rooms, traversing through doors, and hoping something isn't behind you when you turn around from the inevitable locked door. Maybe I should look around. No, I don't want to look. Oh, there's a note. Okay. Note. Spouting, splashing, soaking, innards, ingest, invoking, nail never stops the choking. What are you? Who are you? Run! There's juice on the ground and run! Running! The overall aesthetics of the game is rather simple. Adding proof that you don't need morbidity and gore in your environments to have an effect on the player. Subtlety is key when it comes to suspension and even horror. Tight corridors, changing from color palette depending on the depth. Different themes playing tributes to various games, from Five Nights at Freddy's to Legend of Zelda, and a few others I couldn't quite place. The scares of the game, some may say jump scares are cheap, but these are done right. Not every room contains jumps. They seem to be rather well timed. As the moment the player's guard is down and they start to relax, a nice cute little cardboard cutout comes to say hello. Okay. Oh. I was not expecting a thing to just come out of nowhere. Ooh. It's not following. Jeez! Stop that! Damn it! Oh. As adorable as the cutouts are, a few times after they come to say hello, and you just want to give them a nice big hug because of how adorable they are, Phobos breaks loose. Slow Juice, holes in the ceiling, Bambi, a creepy deer thing from Courage of the Cowardly Dog. The creatures start to devolve and have just the right amount of creepiness that you would expect. While much emphasis is placed in horror games on the audio, there are many times when it's just well overdone. Throughout the entirety of Spooky's house of jump scares, this tone is what you can expect from all the music. Long, drawn-out, single-note tones that leave the brain wanting for more. Just sitting here in my room, I am already feeling anxious just listening to this. Now, let's compare this ambient noise to that of a fairly popular horror game. When it comes to music in horror games, too much can ruin an entire soundtrack. Well, a soundtrack for Spooky is extremely simple. It does what it needs to do. It brings on a sense and feeling of what's coming, what's about to happen. It leaves the brain hanging for more information, craves what isn't there, without knowing what's there, creates the feeling of suspense. If there's too much noise, glass breaking in the background, babies crying, agonizing screams from an unknown source, that is too much information. Well, no game is perfect. I do have a few gripes and bugs that I have found within Spooky's House of JumpScares. There are some player collision movement issues when it comes to strafing against walls, unlike many games where if you sidestep against a wall you will slide amongst it. In Spooky's House, the player will actually get stuck to the wall and not be able to move until they turn to a 90-degree angle away from the wall. The same can be said about the floors in the wall-less maze sections if the player is running away from one of the haunts. There are also some issues when you do have a flashlight in certain sections. If you get too close to a wall, the light will project onto the wall as well as where you're facing. The same can be done with the ceiling if you look at the floor and point the light down. About halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way through the game, you do encounter an enemy that will change all the floor and wall textures to red and black swirling nonsense that makes it rather hard to see the floors or any of the doors. If you do suffer from motion sickness, I would recommend having a bucket ready. I would definitely change the texture a bit to make it slightly easier to see differences between walls and floors, as well as the door. It turns everything to pretty much a flat texture. That may be part of the enemy's gimmick, but it's still not great for those who suffer from see or motion sickness. Another seemingly random bug that I found: on very rare occasions when you enter a room, the additional hallways inside the room are visible through the solid walls around the player character. I was unsuccessful in recreating this. A second enemy type will also hide the doors. That is about 3/4 of the way through the game, around floor 750, give or take. By that point, though, the player should know the layout of the rooms fairly well and be able to navigate them in the dark. It is still slightly hard to access the door, which may cause player deaths. My suggestion would be to just increase the active range of the doors slightly, so it's a little bit easier to get in and out, or to get through the door. I didn't actually count the total number of rooms that were possible. There are quite a few, but the basic rooms that you encounter most of the time are lacking in quantity. I would definitely suggest adding more variations to the possible quote-unquote vanilla rooms that the player can interact with. There was also one encounter with a straight long hallway where the hallway seemed endless. Upon following the hallway for maybe 3 minutes, give or take, the hallway suddenly ended into void space without a door to traverse through and move to the next section. Upon trying to jump out into the void, I found invisible walls to prevent the player character from falling through. To try and recover from this, I doubled back on myself and encountered another invisible wall. in which I physically got stuck in and was unable to move. Thankfully, though, Lag Studios was wonderfully generous enough to include a monster that will hunt you down and kill you if you spend too long AFK, which is both a blessing and a curse. Some random deaths were encountered if I stopped playing for anywhere between 5 to 10 seconds. Most of the time it takes a little bit longer than that. Overall, I have to say, Spooky's House of Jump Scares was an absolutely fantastic time to play. Absolutely amazing for having been developed by 2 people. I would definitely give it a solid 8 of 10 for the team of 2 people that worked on it. Tons of charm to be had, an absolute must play. And plus, it's free.